I first heard about Bitcoin in my last year of high school in 2012. I was clueless and completely uninterested in investing, let alone in cryptocurrency. At the time, I was more concerned about achieving high grades to get into a good university. No one was paying much attention to Bitcoin back then. By the end of 2012, one Bitcoin was worth $13.50. Then I heard about Bitcoin a few more times throughout university, mainly from guys who studied commerce or finance-related degrees, but I was more concerned with completing my international relations degree so I could get a good job. And by the end of 2016, one Bitcoin was worth around $753. After I graduated, I got my first full-time job in a sales and business development role at a startup company. One day, I overheard a conversation between a few colleagues who excitedly discussed Bitcoin before the workday started. By the end of 2017, one Bitcoin was worth $10,800. For some reason, I just didn't buy into the hype and never bothered to research Bitcoin or crypto. The truth is, I had a low financial literacy. Back then, I didn't know how to invest, and I was never taught about financial markets. I felt embarrassed about my lack of financial literacy and completely intimidated at the thought of asking anyone to explain. So I ignored it until eventually a friend taught me how to invest in the stock market. Back then, in early 2021, I was driving to work one morning and listening to the Tim Ferris Show podcast. Tim is the author of many books, including The 4-Hour Workweek, and on his podcast, he interviews some of the most interesting and successful people around the world. That morning, I listened to Tim's interview with Katie Haun. Katie admitted that she wasn't the brightest student in school, but she eventually found a passion for law during university. Katie became a US federal prosecutor with the United States Justice Department and led the very first cryptocurrency task force investigating financial and cyber crimes. Her feet were squarely planted in the public service where she envisioned a lengthy and rewarding career. One day, Katie was tipped off about 2 US federal agents who had gone rogue and started working with Ross Ulbricht, the 31-year-old American who created the Silk Road, an online dark web marketplace facilitating the sale of $1 billion in illegal drugs using the Bitcoin blockchain. The 2 US federal agents were helping Ulbricht in his illegal operation by offering sensitive information in exchange for Bitcoin, convinced that Bitcoin transactions were completely anonymous and untraceable. In fact, Bitcoin users were convinced of this too. One commenter posted in an online forum in June 2013, "It's totally anonymous. The FBI does not have a prayer of a chance of finding out who is who." Katie initially thought the tip about the 2 US federal agents was a conspiracy theory until investigators traced a series of records that identified Ulbricht as the suspect and led straight to the 2 agents. You see, the Bitcoin blockchain is a public blockchain. Anyone can see every transaction ever made with a simple Google search. If you're careless, your transactions are entirely traceable back to you. In this case, Ulbricht had accidentally left a trail of online activity that enabled investigators to identify which Bitcoin transactions belonged to him. In 2013, FBI agents found and arrested Ulbricht in a San Francisco public library. And in 2015, Ulbricht was sentenced to life in prison for drug trafficking, computer hacking, and money laundering. As for the US federal agents, they were charged with wire fraud, money laundering, and related offences for stealing digital currency during their investigation of the Silk Road. In a 2021 interview, Katie said, "Without the blockchain, I can definitively say that we would never have solved that case. Those agents would still be federal agents today." Something about investigating Bitcoin and the Bitcoin blockchain piqued Katie's interest, so much that she left her career as a federal prosecutor in 2017 to work in the cryptocurrency space. Since then, Katie has worked for global cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase and venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. She was named in Messari's annual Crypto Trends report as one of the top 10 people to watch in the cryptoverse. In early 2022, Katie raised $1.5 billion for her Web3 venture fund, Haun Ventures, the largest sum of money ever raised for a venture firm by a solo female founding partner. Katie's interview with Tim Ferris was the final piece of information that kicked me into gear and encouraged me to learn more about crypto. Listening to a female with a non-technical background talk about crypto in such simple terms resonated with me and made me realise that crypto isn't just for one certain kind of person. I felt welcomed, and Katie gave me the confidence to start learning. Everyone has a story or an aha moment that encourages them to explore the cryptoverse. Maybe a conversation with a friend, a documentary, a podcast. We'd love to know of any person or piece of information that inspired you to start learning. So head over to the My Story Discord channel to share your story with the community. See you in the next lesson.